Hello, hello. Yeah, basically, at Swarms, our mission is to try and automate the world's labor markets by essentially having agents, by providing enterprises and startups the ability to build agents. And if a big component of this is like most of our users are in traditional finance. But healthcare is our second biggest user base, and so that's why I'm particularly interested in DeSCI. And we have our own DeSCI project as well called MCS. And so MCS's purpose is to basically automate and accelerate the diagnosis of medical clinical documentation. So basically taking in like medical notes and medical clinical documentation and having agents basically like diagnose the patient. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah. Amazing. Dr. Uzi, would you like to introduce yourself? This is I like how you think. How did you originally get into DeSci and like this entire section? Because most of the like I'd say like around a year ago, I don't really remember seeing like any form of DeSci's like any form of like interesting DeSci play. I didn't see any DeSci at all, to be completely honest with you. So how did you like get into this, and like why does this interest you now? Very, very interesting. Yeah, I think this is. I think decentralization is incredibly important within healthcare because, like, historically speaking, if you like if you look at all like the biggest healthcare companies in the world, they're very, very like traditional, and they're very like isolated. So like if you look at like Epic, for example, which is like the biggest healthcare company in America, they provide like 350 million Americans with like their healthcare data. So they're like the biggest healthcare platform in all of America. They have every single American as a customer. And I don't think that's really good because once you have like all that concentration of usage within one application, like it can get like there's no real innovation, right? Because if you have like a bunch of like smaller projects, you can basically like the innovation will radically increase. And for other countries as well, like Europe only has a couple of major healthcare companies that provide like healthcare software. And I think if we like, I think decentralizing healthcare could be like a multi-trillion-dollar industry because once it's decentralized, there'll be a lot more innovation. And especially now with AI, like AI can basically do almost anything in healthcare or like biomedical science. Like agents can analyze clinical documentation. Agents can basically like analyze blood samples. Agents can analyze x-rays and things like that. Like there's no real limit to what they can do. The only real limitation is the user interface and the funding needed to sponsor these applications. And so yeah, that's why we launched MCS, and that's why I'm very excited to work with other partners in the space to continuously increase our position in DeSci, because I am very, very bullish on DeSci. Again, I think that the entire like healthcare industry now can be fully automated. There's nothing really stopping this other than like just people building the applications and just focusing on like very, very specific problems. And so that brings me to my next question, which is, Dr. Uzi, like, what are your favorite projects in the space? What have you learned from these projects? And how can like AI be incorporated into them to accelerate the process of making healthcare and just general biomedical science much more efficient? Yeah, absolutely. There's so we started building like the first ever agentic multi-agent applications for healthcare like 3 years ago. And you could basically like you could analyze X-ray images, you can analyze like MRIs and things like that. And you can cut like depending on the type of data, you can really like customize these agents for any of these applications. The thing that is most important though is like building a like a simple user interface for people to leverage these applications, and I think that's kind of like the biggest barrier to entry right now, because there needs to be like a simple interface that would allow researchers or hospitals, doctors to leverage agents and also make that process as simple as possible. And it's also going to take some time to like educate researchers and doctors on how to actually use this technology. How do you prompt these agents? I think that's a pretty significant issue that we've been trying to solve at MCS, and a lot of my other friends in DeSCI are trying to do as well. But I think over time, like as these like interfaces and more DeSci AI projects start coming, I think some of these issues will be handled. But there's nothing technically speaking that is prohibiting this other than building the agents, customizing the agents, giving them continuous real time data, and then building an interface on top of this. And so, yeah, those are like some of the limitations, but these agents definitely can exist. There's like, you could give it text data in a JSON, like you mentioned. You can give it images of, x-rays or fractures, skull fractures, like any type of bone fractures. And it could tell you with extreme precision that, okay, like someone broke their leg, or, someone needs this type of medication. And so, yeah, so those are like some observations from our side. I guess like we can make a like couple of more templates and reusable applications that would allow researchers or hospitals or anybody wanting to use healthcare agents to easily use those agents. But again, there's nothing stopping them from being actively leveraged. And so, yeah, that comes into my next question, which is like, what are like the top three like DeSci AI applications you think would be extremely valuable now, like massive multi-million dollar projects?
right? Like the
Yeah, so I'm taking a look at your article right now on opportunities in DeSci, and it seems like you have like a very clear understanding of some of the issues within DeSci. But I do think yes, there might be like a couple of issues now, and it might be a relatively small niche industry of DeFi and Web3 in its entirety, but I do think within the long term, if we could fix some of the problems you talk about in the article, like ensuring that like DeSci projects operate like companies and like research lab companies, and they like manage their finances, and they're very like capital efficient. They could raise money pretty easily, then they use that money for like actually important things. I don't know how Bio Labs does it now, or the people that you mentioned, but I think if those issues are fixed, I think this could potentially allow you know people, researchers trying to like conduct research, or people trying to develop entirely new drugs, to essentially like go public much faster, get many more customers, and collect data as quickly as possible. And so there's another problem that you mentioned here as well, which is there's no clear product strategy. And I think this is a pretty significant problem, because like if you're like raising money to like build a new drug for some disease using some like decentralized protocol, then I like that might be interesting. But how do you actually make this into a product? And so there's like I think these two problems are pretty big. And yeah, so the last problem that you mentioned is poor long-term financing strategies. A peculiar trend is that projects led by top university professors often raise excessively high valuations in their initial rounds. And I think what really matters here in within DeSci is like building something incredibly useful, something that could help save people's lives, potentially using AI. I like if you wanted to make a new drug, you could like make a new like drug or like a new vaccine or something. But you could also use AI to help you there. I think like if you try to use AI to just make the process as efficient as humanly possible, and you kind of have like an easy way of accessing this product, like just like add to cart on a website if it's like some like vaccine or something, or if it's an AI healthcare DeSci project, then making like a super simple interface, and making that interface reliable is also extremely important. But yeah, I'm incredibly bullish on DeSci as a whole. I just think there's a couple of issues that are prohibiting it from like achieving its full potential. Because yeah, as I mentioned before, like I think the entire like healthcare, the not only just the American healthcare market, but the entire like global healthcare market is very centralized in only like a small hands of a few people. And I think if we could fix these issues, we could radically extend human lifespans. Humans now only live to about 80 years. I don't know about you, but I don't want to die when I'm 80. I want to live forever. And I would say a vast majority of humans will like to live forever. Now that we're, starting to go to space and colonize the universe, there's going to be a lot of space and resources for humans. And I think what really matters here is having good teams that build impactful, revolutionary DeSci AI projects, and making them as simple as possible to use. So yeah, I would love your thoughts on like what is like how can we solve these issues? What issues have you seen like again and again? And like how can we just like how can we if the teams are good, right? If there are good products to invest in, more money will come in, right? Because if this is essentially like an allocation of capital problem, if if people are investing, billions and billions of dollars into DeSci, I wouldn't say there's a I wouldn't say there's a problem with DeSci as a concept. I would say mostly there's a problem with the teams within DeSci, and the teams that are building products. So yeah, would love your thoughts on that. Yeah. So, well, first, like, there's like four big issues with having just like one agent try and do everything. The first one is that, which is like extremely, extremely related to DeSci and just research in general, which is like if you try to give someone so many like words or tokens to an LLM, it just will not remember everything that you say. So if you wanted to process like a full research paper, you'd have to break it down like 10 pages for one agent, another 10 pages for the next agent. And so that's like problem number one. The problem is that like agents can't remember everything, and so processing research papers, processing like medical documentation is a pretty big problem. And another problem is that if you wanted to do multiple things at once, let's say you wanted to analyze multiple patients and or have like a fully autonomous medical research team, you would need to have like the ability of doing multiple things at once. So then you need to parallelize your agents because, well, just one agent can't do multiple things at once. It can only really do one thing at a time. And so like these are like the two biggest problems, um, within like just using like traditional agents for any form of application, but most especially within DSI and any form of medical healthcare activities. And so yes, the only way forward for agents in healthcare DSI is by being multi agents. You need to have some form of collective intelligence that simulates how do humans do this now. And so you could almost always build a good swarm if you basically look at how like, okay, so this is how a doctor, this is how like a team of doctors do this. This is how a team of, let's say, new protein, like people trying to create new proteins do this. And so if you simulate these processes and you replace the humans with the agents, you can radically speed up the process. And so I say now, like, with DeSci in general, I do think there needs to be like, I think there needs to be a lot more like good projects, good interfaces. It could be AI to start with because building with AI is relatively easy. Within healthcare, like, healthcare agents can already exceed the performance of human doctors. So like agents are already smarter than doctors, right? Because they've seen almost all the medical textbooks and documentation on the internet. And so the real thing that matters now is specializing these applications and then like making like a simple, very simple to use, reliable interface that real world people like doctors or analysts or researchers can leverage. And so those are like some of my like thoughts and observations on this matter. But so Dr. Uzi, so is most of the DeSci community within Solana, or is it in like other chains? Or like what have you observed here? Yeah, so it depends mostly on like what field of agent research are you doing. So like to give you an example within DeSci, like creating multi-agent systems for very specific parts of DeSci healthcare applications. Like, let's say you wanted to benchmark a multi-agent systems performance on X-ray analysis. That would be one research paper. Another one could be MRI analysis. Creating another multi-agent system to see how it can analyze MRI data and benchmarking the agents on that and seeing how it does relative to humans. Is the multi-agent system better than humans, or is it just as good as humans? And so like those are like a couple of research ideas. Another one could be like like there was actually a really good paper that came out on Archive recently about this, which is, can multi-agent systems generate entirely new proteins and new drugs? And so yeah, those are like some ideas on like DeSci agent research projects. Another one, like more generally speaking, could be like the performance of agents in autonomous trading, but that's outside of the topic of this discussion. But yeah, so those are like some ideas. Um, but yeah, there's just so many, so many things to research, especially within like agents and like healthcare, creating new drugs, creating new proteins, and things like that. I'd actually love to know like your thoughts on like what are the most important things to be leveraging AI to do research on now. Uh, I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, I mean, your ideas are impeccable. After this AMA is finished, I'm probably gonna have an agent like create a report on all the ideas that you mentioned and then implement them all autonomously. So, yeah, like I agree absolutely with everything you said. Um, and Yeah, do you have any like final words or any, any last words of wisdom for this evening? It's getting kind of late in America. It's like almost like, yeah, it's like 11:20 in the night. Oh, RWA, bro. That's the future. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so I personally I didn't go to Dubai. I actually wanted to, but I was kind of late. I was late to the party. Um, and yeah, I really wanted to go though. I know a lot of people that are there. But decided to just lock in, build agents, improve our agents, improve the infrastructure, and yeah. Why didn't you go though? Yeah, yeah. Hong Kong, dude, I miss Hong Kong so much already.
Exactly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if we'll manufacture, brain computer interfaces, but we can definitely build the like the infrastructure for this. I think a Neuralink is doing pretty good as it is now. I mean, if you want to take a shot at building like these, like brain computer interface plants, that would be amazing. But I think the tech is already there. I just think we need to do a lot more like human experiments. Like, Neuralink they've only implanted Neuralink in like 5 people, maybe less than five. And I think if we want to do this at scale with millions of people, we're going to have to start like increasing those numbers very quickly, and also collecting as much data as possible from these patients. And like, how was the like integration process? Was there any issues? And like basically capture all the telemetry that you could capture. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, it would be insane if you could like call like a bunch of different swarms, like deep research swarm with a like brain implant, and then like read like 50 million papers in like an hour or something, just like something obscene and crazy, like reading thousands of papers every second. That would be really, really cool. And yeah, I don't think it's impossible. I just think we need to move faster with brain computer interfaces. And a big problem with that right now is like regulations and whatever. But I'm particularly bullish on this, very bullish. But yeah, we just need to solve those issues first, and then we can keep accelerating.
Yeah,
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, we should definitely do another one. Maybe a little bit. Maybe do it earlier so I'm not tired because I've been awake for a long time now. So,
okay.
but yeah, yeah. Thank you. Do you want to say anything before we go to the people? Yeah, yeah. Fuck yeah, to the fucking moon, man. All right, brothers. It's been a pleasure. Ciao. Have a good one.
Oh, damn it.